We're almost live. And we're live. It's the Monday Night Roundtable show. This roundtable has two people at it. We have three in a moment. But with two people, it's more of a square table. You know, like you sit in the corner, just the two of you. A little romantic thing between me and Mitch. But here we can add Andrea here.
Can you hear me?
There's Andrea. The only place I'm round is around the middle.
Where's my tablet? And I will talk. Where's Malpal?
I don't know. I was actually, it was a last minute thing when I looked at your notes, and I didn't realize that you sent it to me directly.
Let me check and see what he's up to. Hold on.
All right.
Oh, so I made it through the.
What is Malpal's name? I've been trying to figure out what his name is.
Yeah, I don't know it either. I know it was Mal.
I asked Andy. I asked her today, what's his name? I want to put him in my contact list. In fact, I don't think I have your contact data either, sir.
I will gladly give you my cell phone and my thing offline. I don't want to give it online.
Do I have your email?
My email is urbanbaboon@gmail.com. And my Twitter is Baboon. Yeah, my Twitter is @urbanbaboon. Either way.
At Gmail.
Yeah, I just I'm pretty free with my phone number, but I'm not about to put it on YouTube forever.
No, I agree. I just like to put you in my contacts, Doug.
But anybody who listens can tweet me. Anybody who wants to send me an email, send me an email. It's amazing how many emails I get a week. I mean, I don't get hundreds, but I get like a dozen a week during baseball season.
Do you really?
And I answer every single one of them, no matter how frustrated they are. Because it's the thing of like one of the things that's different about football players and baseball players, right? Football fan players, everybody in football is waiting for the experts to tell them what they should be doing, right? In baseball, all of us think we're better than the experts. And so we listen to them, but we also have our own thing. And so when you're getting emails from people this regularly like I do, these are the guys that want me to set their lineups every week, and it's frustrating.
No, I wouldn't do that.
You know, it's like I'm trying to feed him a fish. I go like, and if you know me, and you guys do know me, I almost never answer a question unequivocally.
I have a question for you and Andy to start off the session.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I intensely dislike the National Basketball Association.
Really?
I do. Because they don't play any defense. I'd rather watch college basketball. So answer me this.
I prefer that too, but
answer me this. I'm in 3 NBA leagues. I'm in 1 head-to-head league and 2 roto leagues. I'm winning 2 of the 3, and in the third, I'm in second place, nipping at the first place guys' underlings or whatever. How am I so good in NBA when I don't even like it?
It's because you don't like it. I've played.
It doesn't make sense.
I played. You can go look this up on Yahoo. I played in eight NBA leagues in my life, and I've won all of them because I don't really like the game.
But it doesn't. What's the reason? You don't care. You can be more objective.
Yeah, you are so much more objective. It's only the numbers.
That's only the numbers.
That's all you care about the numbers. And as much as I try to do that in baseball, I can't. You know, it's like I'm not going to roster a lot of Yankees. I just. You know, it's like I just had a league where I cut Clint Frazier off my bench just because I didn't want a Yankee on my bench. I'd get somebody else, you know? I picked up Cedric Mullins. Not a big deal.
Homer.
What? No, but the thing is, like I used to say about, I started in football and I used to write these notes that people would get. I wrote a little magazine for like 1988 to 1997, and I would say that one of the things I would say in my commissioner notes is it's better to lose than to win a game with Brett Favre. You know, because the Packers-Bears thing. I'm a Bears fan.
Well, you raise an interesting point. It may be that I have more objectivity because I really don't care about the players. All I do is look at who gets the blocks and who gets the steals and who gets the rebounds. And
the weird thing about it is that I remember it's been about 4 years since I played in the league. You'll get to a point where you can make a trade where you can send somebody a guy that gets like 33 points a game, but you're trading for somebody who doesn't score many points, but he gets 1.7 steals and 3.3 blocks, and that guy is so much more important, and the guy doesn't even see it.
Hi, Malpal.
Hi, good evening. I don't know what happened.
You're making a case for objectivity, Mitch.
Were you
Glad to
napping?
see you.
No,
So
I
I
don't know. I was
traded-
in the wrong room. I don't know.
I traded Corbin Burns for Blake Snell and Bobby Witt Jr. Only a moron would trade Corbin Burns, who's pitching the best of any pitcher in Major League Baseball.
I think it's a good trade. You sold him at his absolute. I mean, I'm not saying he's a bad player, but he's at his apex right now.
Well, he's got an
His next game has got to be worse than his last game.
he's going to be on an innings limit. Plus, Milwaukee doesn't score any runs for the kid.
Yeah, I mean, and you get. I think I'd rather have Burns than Snell, but you picked up literally, well, either the number 1 or number 2 prospect in baseball.
Okay. Can you hear me or what?
Yeah.
Can you hear me loud and
We're
clear?
good.
Yeah, we were just ignoring you
We're
before.
good.
No, that's fine. No, you can't ignore me. I'm sure you can.
Madam Moderator, it's your show.
No. So why in the world would you rather have Corbin Burns than Blake Snell? That's what I want to know.
His stats are better this year.
I mean,
It's only
still,
been 10 days so far. 10 days.
It's two
No,
starts. It's 2 starts. Yeah. Well, I'm selling. This is classic selling high, is the way I look at this.
it's great selling high.
Huh?
So, but you said you'd rather have Burns though. If you're selling high,
I
then
think
I said that.
Burns is arguably the best starter right now. It's a limited data sample, but he's number 1 in like 4 pitching categories.
He pitches 6 great innings every time he's out there.
hi,
Yeah.
Merrill Hartson. He always comes and sees your show. That's so nice. That's your twin, right, Mitchell?
Yeah, I blackmail him. I told him I'd buy him a bowl of jelly beans for every show he watches.
It's just nice
A
to see
bowl of jelly
family.
beans.
Okay, so we're going to talk today about let's just start with this. FAAB Strategies. Mitchell says that in one of his leagues, one guy's already spent all of his money in like 2 weeks. And so obviously that's the extreme end of, that's the extreme on one side. The other side would be not to spend any money. What's your guys' strategy for, how do you deal with your FAAB? Do you just kind of like take it, as it comes and replace players when you need them? Or do you try to conserve until a certain time of year? Go ahead, Douglas.
The funny thing about FAAB strategy is that it's the one area in baseball where I really consider myself a bit of a novice. Like I don't really have a solution that works. I spend a lot of time, not getting players or overspending a little bit for players. I generally think if you draft well, you shouldn't really need to spend a lot on FAAB, so you can be a little bit more conservative. And so for that reason, I tend to be making FAAB bids at the fringes of my team unless there's an injury. Like, and even in that case, what can you do? Like this week, I lost Tatis, right? In a 15 team, 30 player thing. I was like, who was out there to replace him on shortstop? And it's like I had to pick between Andrelton Simmons and Jose Iglesias. And not really, and I bid $11 on each out of 1,000, figuring I would get one because who's going to be bidding on these guys? Not realizing that there was a Tim Anderson lost guy out there who bid $25 on Andrelton Simmons. And so I would say, like, the lesson I learned is you should really. There's a lot of work to FAAB, and one of the things that I've never done is I should actually look to see who else is in the same boat as I am, because it'll help you know if you need to bid or something. I would have rather had Andrelton Simmons a little bit over Iglesias, not a lot, but it was just one of those things.
That's an excellent point, Doug.
Go ahead, Mitchell. You talk about yours. How do you feel about it?
I had $100 budget. I mean, I'm in 6 leagues, but there's only 2 with FAAB. The rest of them were snake drafts and no waiver wire. I have about $50 left in one of the 100, and I have about $53 in the other. Because every expert I've listened to, I listen to XM as much as anybody I know, hours and hours. A lot of the fantasy experts say you can't stay asleep on the first FAAB roll because we got 0 bids in my 15-team league already this weekend. The second FAAB roll of the year, 0 bids, which is ridiculous. But I have tried to use restraint. So what I'm trying to do, I believe that the wise thing to do is to spend the great preponderance of your FAAB money by the All-Star break, because anybody you get after the All-Star break is not going to play for you long enough to get that significant. Now, I picked up this kid McKinstry from the Dodgers, who there's no way I see him getting plate appearances, but they love this guy. You know,
what'd you pay for him?
He's leading the Dodgers.
Yeah, that's the question. What'd you pay?
He weighs 155 pounds. I paid about I would paid $5
out of 100 or 1,000.
I paid $5. He leads the Los Angeles Dodgers in runs batted in.
Well, I'm not ridiculing you. I'm just wondering if he was drafted in one league that I was in, a very, very deep league, the same league I drafted Akil Baddoo in. And what the guy said was, he goes, he's going to be the new Enrique Hernandez, the guy that plays all over, and he'll get you enough at bats. And if you're drafting in the 427th round, that's not a bad guy to have. I'm like, okay, but yeah,
I won't say it was a great pickup, Doug, but I only spent $5. I wanted Dane Dunning. I offered $5 for Dane Dunning, and he went for $6.
Yeah, that happens too.
Yeah, so I mean, it does obviously come into play how the rest of the people in your league spend their money, because, you know, if you take a look at the first week, you were able to see what the bids went for the first week, and you could kind of tell what you have to spend on a player to get that player. But so you don't. But so both of you, I still don't know the answer. So with Douglas,
there is no answer.
Douglas says he doesn't really have a strategy. He doesn't really need to spend money because he has a good draft. He will pick up players if he needs them. But Mitchell, you say the players that you're going to get after the All-Star break, you are not going to need that to spend that much money on anyway, because they aren't going to give back what you spent, right? They're
unless you're doing so poorly. Like, I'll tell you another guy I got was Kirilloff, who's not even in the major leagues.
Well, that's a nice pickup because he's probably going to play somewhere.
I do believe Kirilloff will be up by June 30th.
So what do you have to do in Tout Wars and Labor? Every time you pick up a player, you have to put them in your active roster at that moment.
I have to carry Kirilloff for 1 week on my active roster.
And then you can put him on your bench.
Yes.
Okay, Malpal, how do you deal with your FAAB money? Do you have a strategy with that?
It's so dependent on the type of league, the number of teams, how deep the player pool is. So I can't give like one simple answer. One league I'm in, I will, if I see, I look at, you know, where there's a lot of players out there, like a 12-team mix, even a 15-team mix. I will spend more if I need to if I need to address a category where I have an injured player or a non-performing player. I will spend the extra $10, $20 if it's a category I need. If it's just a body, I'll just take whoever I can get, because I figure by the time the draft's over, most of the elite guys are gone. I play in a lot of only leagues. That's a different story than a mixed league. It's a completely different story when it comes to FAAB.
Mm-hmm.
I have a more principled approach on that because of the trade deadline issues. Yeah. And I'm more of a 50-50. I want to make sure that I have half my FAAB available when July comes around, because that's when.
I'm in the same place now.
Yeah. So, like, for example, I'm in a league, 15-team league. I spent $31 on the La Castro because I needed speed. So
31 out of how much? 1,000?
1,000. So this is a one-trick pony.
Right.
Right, it's a one-trick pony, but I need the speed. But if I didn't need the speed, I wouldn't even have bid on the guy. So that's, you know, it's really league specific for me. I can't just sit here and give one general answer like this is how you should do it. So when I hear these experts on telling you how to manage your FAAB, I usually just turn the channel or go to the next article.
Well, except for the one tip that you said, if you're in an only league and you have the guy gets traded, he's dead rule, you need to save some money to bid on those guys. Other than that, I don't know what the strategy is.
Well,
you know, strategy in the only league is the guys. Let's say you're in an AL only, and you get a mid-season trade of a guy coming over, and now he's in your player pool. That's where you want to be able to spend $70.
That's important. But I look at like I'm in this TFPBI thing, and not that it's that important, but there's what is it? There's like 30 separate leagues going on simultaneously. And in one league, Cesar Valdez went for $30, and in one league he went for $289, and he went for all sorts of numbers in between. And you're trying to say which one is right. If the right bid is the one that gets him. But how do you really go, he was worth 72 or he was worth 75. You can't really do that. It's like the FAAB bid really doesn't appear to me to have anything to do with the value of the player. It's about what it takes to get it purchased. It's like buying water during a hurricane. When the guys pull up the water and he says, here's a gallon of water, it's $5. You're like, you're crazy. $5? Who pays that for water? It's like, you do now. And the guy behind you is going, I'll give you $6 for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Totally agree with you that I don't really see it the same way as Mitchell, in the sense that the amount that you're going to get back, it doesn't have much of anything to do with what you had to pay to get him, because it depends on how bad you needed him. And even if you need a player in August and it's going to keep you in first place, then it's worth every dollar that you have in FAAB just to make sure that you get that player. But of course, at this time in the year, we don't really know, and there is so many question marks about FAAB, and I don't think anybody should be telling you how to spend your FAAB. Obviously, it's based on the individual league, it's based on your team needs, and my only strategy is that I really try hard not to overspend on players that I don't think are that good, or it depends on how bad. I have Tim Anderson in a league, and that's real bad injury. I thought that shortstop
I read today that La Russa expects him back on Thursday.
That's goodness. Right. I just saw the same thing.
Guess who's coming back tomorrow? Guess who's pitching? Does anybody know?
Zach Gallen?
Yes.
Zach Gallen.
That's amazing. I can't believe that.
We'll see what happens. Okay, let's just leave it at that. But, okay, so Malpal, one other question before we move on. The management in San Diego said they're not going to activate Dinelson Lamet out of necessity, but then he said that it seems that they're getting pretty close. What does that mean? Does that mean he's coming back soon? I know he pitched I know he threw 56 pitches or something. I don't know. Whatever. When's he coming back? We need him on my team.
I think it's long shot he's back this period, meaning this week. Mm-hmm. I just read that the next start for Morion was this Friday, and they came out and said they will not have an answer as to who will start Friday. It's all dependent on the usage of the staff through this Pittsburgh series. So literally, that could be anything from David Weathers or Ryan Weathers to an opener to just Craig Stammen. I doubt it's going to be Lamet. I don't see Gore. So I think you want to throw a dart at Weathers. It's a dart throw.
It sounds like, based on what he says, that Weathers is going to be the starter, in my mind, unless he's needed to pitch and relief in between. That's what he's saying.
But you're not going to get much innings out of him. What I can see happening, this is just speculation, is Weathers and Lamet piggybacking when it comes their time to start, unless they need Weathers in as a prominent member of their bullpen. And he's been pretty good, So
that's what I'm thinking. I think he's been good enough in their bullpen that they probably ought to give him a start. That pitching those multiple innings. He has Weathers has a save this year, pitching 3 1/3 innings in a game. He's done some longer stints.
So I think Lamet will be back. I mean, they're really counting on him. That would solve. That'd be their 5 starters, right? If he came in. Then you got Gore too. That's lurking. The thing is it's weird about this year is no one knows what's going on with Gore, right? Because
you really expect him in the majors though, because he hasn't even made it to AAA yet.
That's what I'm saying. Well, he wouldn't be the first guy not to go to AAA and come to the majors, but you can't even get a gauge because part of the issue with Gore has been his command, and you don't know what's going on these alternative sites. There's no games. There's no reporting really.
Not until
no one's
May
allowed
1st.
there.
Yeah, not until
So-
May 1st.
Okay,
Right.
so we don't know anything going on right now.
I
Well,
think you're throwing a dart, and I would throw a dart at Weathers if you had to take one guy, but I think it's more likely a bullpen game.
yeah, okay, yeah, you guys have so much pitching. It would be, look how many Padres depth chart. Okay, you have 10 pitchers on the IL right now. 10 pitchers on your 40-man roster. On your bull, I mean, this is the list of the bullpen and the starting pitchers. That means that they're on the roster.
Oh, yeah, like we knew about Clevenger and
They have Pierce Johnson, Matt Stram, Altavilla, Javi Guerra. You guys have so many guys that are just like these mediocre guys that just don't have any options left, and that's the deal with the Padres bullpen. Is so deep. But anyway, moving on, because we only. It would be real nice to see Lamet come back soon, but I don't expect him back this week either. But soon after that, I do expect him back. And so if you probably got him at a super discount this year, so he was probably worth grabbing. We'll see that as time plays. But what about the okay, Mitchell brought up the fact that the umpires are pretty much sucking right now this year. So far, they're just not doing well. There's already a threat to take the umpire out of the game, like not take him out completely, but to get electronic pitch calling and to get all kinds of electronic technology, whatever, robots maybe, but they still won't take the umpires out completely. But how do you feel about that? Like, do you feel like they're really making a big difference in the game right now, Mitch, that they bad?
They do a terrific job overall. It's just when they blow one, it gets magnified. Like that thing with Alec Bohm, that kid never touched home plate. I mean, even a somebody with compromised vision could see it on replay that he didn't touch home plate.
So
what ticks me off is it goes to New York, and those fools in New York, they're the firewall. Those fools in Secaucus or wherever they're at, they're the firewall. They need to make it right. If the umpire, they're human beings, they can make – and that thing with Conforto, it was a pitch. The umpire, everybody – I mean, it was a strike. And Conforto's got his arm up right in the middle of the plate and gets hit and gets a walk-off.
Well, what can he do after – the fact that you can't replay these and review these plays, like with Alec Bohm, why couldn't you review his foot on home plate?
Well, the reviewing is slowing down the game. That's another problem.
Okay, is it worth? No, I don't think it's a problem. I think there's so many problems with baseball, but that's just not one of them.
What they need more than that, Andy, is a pitch clock to keep these fools from taking 45 seconds. Have you ever seen the film of Ron Guidry? Do you know how many seconds Ron Guidry was taking between pitches?
I mean, he might have taken a long time, but back in those days,
he was taking
the entire game was 3 hours long.
He was taking 15 to 20 seconds, Douglas.
Yeah.
You go back and look at a video of Ron Guidry, the little Cajun. These guys didn't take all this time 50, 60 years ago.
I agree with you. Our producer was talking about the fact that he liked a pitcher just because of his pace. It's like there's so many pitchers and even batters are just taking forever to get in the batter's box. Like, what is your problem?
There should be a clock on that too.
So, yeah. Go ahead, Douglas.
Well, I'll get back to Bohm real quick. Is that just because I've let that go? The real problem is that we were sold the idea of like we'll take these delays in sports to get instant replay, so you'll get the play right.
They still didn't get it right.
Well, and that's the problem. It's like it's like you take that time in there, you got to get it right. Once you get it wrong, then it's like it should just be gone and go back to live umpires making the call on the thing and. You'll have occasionally a guy not get a perfect game because of a bad call at first, but at least you're not waiting 3 minutes to get that bad call.
And
I would give Alec Bohm a shutout for one thing.
What?
He didn't try a head-first slide, at which he might have made it. A head-first slide, if I were invested in a player, I'd go crazy over a head-first. There's nothing that can happen with that lots of times with something very bad.
I think there's a time and a place for head first.
If I was a betting man, which I'm not,
yes, you are.
I'd bet $100 that the replay official in New York was Angel Hernandez. Got it.
He didn't do that.
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't
a joke,
replay
though.
that one. They didn't.
You are
replay.
joking, right? They wouldn't take a
They wouldn't.
umpire and put him in the video room, would they?
Okay. All it did,
Hernandez's whereabouts would be known that night.
okay, if they can't get the plays right, even after replay,
The other thing they say is like they make these really bizarre rules, and I noticed it more in football. It's one of the reasons I turned away from football. It's like it seems like they make these bizarre rules, like you can use it here, but you can't use it here. You can use it here, but you can't use it here. Really, to make sure that you hate the replay. It's like, it's like because no matter what happens, there's going to be a play that should be run that you can't run, or and then runs that you can't. And you're like this. We should be embracing replay. We should be embracing electronics, getting it right. But for some reason, the people that run these leagues want to run it in such a way that it will irritate the fans that they have this. Like, I actually think that's part of their plan. I don't know whether it's protecting the human element in the umpires. They think it's better that way, or what? Which that's probably the only answer. Is like, if the robots were so good that you didn't need umpires, the umpires would be gone. But why isn't? What's the rationalization for it not being that any play that has some real controversy can be reviewable? Maybe it can't be. You don't say that the manager gets to call it review, but if New York says this rule has enough controversy, we'll look at it. They should be able to look at everything.
Yeah,
They do in college football.
Yeah,
they do in college
Merle
football.
just said in the chat room that these are retired umpires in the MLB replay booth in Secaucus, and they're part of the umpires union, and they're not going to turn on their colleagues. I don't know how much truth there is in that, but that's what he said.
Are they putting?
Are they retired umpires in that booth in New York?
I think they're league.
I think they rotate them
league
through.
Employees.
They didn't used to be. They were like young guys. They were like ball player age guys.
I thought they were like engineers or something.
Yeah.
No, I think they rotate umpires through there.
That's what my brother says.
Okay. So their most added and dropped players, some of the ones really surprised me, like JD Martinez. Sorry. I just took some. Anyway.
Yeah, the JD Martinez is a weird one.
Why is he getting dropped all over the place?
Martinez?
I don't care what he's done. If he's not on the IL right now, I don't care what he's done so far. It's 10 games in. The next guy that was dropped the most is Matt Olson. So what the hell?
He's hitting the cover off the ball.
Well, he wasn't until yesterday, but he started yesterday. But yeah, like what is this? He was utility only. So is there a league where that is so hard to roster for 2 weeks that you need to drop him now?
This is a combination of ESPN, Yahoo, CBS. It's all of them combined at Fantasy Pros, and it's that he dropped he was owned in 99% of leagues, and now he dropped 48%, and now he's owned in 49% of leagues.
That's crazy. Those people have no idea what they're doing.
They don't have patience. Moncada has been bad, no doubt about it. But I'm
not a single one of those guys who dropped JD Martinez was able to pick up a better player.
Right. That's right.
Okay,
there isn't an available better player. There's a couple of good players, but not a better player.
Do you see anybody on this list that surprised you as far as drops, or that you wanted to bring up? Because, for me, Yohan Moncada is on one of my teams. I'm not a fan of him. I already know that he strikes out way too much to keep any kind of sense of a good batting average, but I got him for real cheap, so I thought, I know he didn't even try to steal one base last year. So I wonder, is it time? First of all, in my opinion, it's not time to be dropping anybody that you think is going to.
There has to be a real specific reason. Like you drafted him as a closer, and it's clear he's not the closer. You can drop that guy.
Or he's on the injured list or whatever. Like, you don't drop a guy with the quality of Matt Olson, dude, in the first week. Yeah. Malpal, dude, you see the list that I sent out?
I scanned it, but I don't have it in front of me. I apologize.
Okay.
I agree, though. I mean, if you spend the capital on these names that we're mentioning at the draft, why the hell would you cut them after 10 days? I mean, it's just
I can
zero sense.
I can see Paddock, but the other ones, maybe Dom Smith, because he's not getting enough playing time.
Verdugo was pretty bad. Alex Verdugo was pretty bad, but like all of a sudden the Red Sox are leading the American League East, and at first they weren't even scoring any runs at all. They couldn't even score a run. JD Martinez and Alex Verdugo, it seems to me that lately they must have been turning on something because, like I said, I wouldn't be dropping Rhys Hoskins. I wouldn't be dropping Matt Olson. I'm not dropping Yohan Moncada. Maybe Chris Paddock, but even then, if I drafted him, I probably would still at least.
He's been pretty bad so far, but yeah, you'd bench him first.
Yeah, I think Verdugo had a grand slam yesterday.
Honestly, is there a worse feeling in fantasy sports than you drop a guy and then your buddy picks him up and he goes off?
Right.
No,
man, that's just the worst feeling. I don't know.
I have that. I have that from last week. I dropped Johnny Cueto, so when he picked him up, Cueto went 8 2/3 innings. I'm like the only guy in the world. It's
That's
like,
okay.
I asked the guy, "Why'd you pick him up?" He goes, "Well, because you dropped him."
Well, good reason.
Did you see his new?
He's like, "Well, you should know something," and I don't know.
Did you see his new pitching motion?
Well, that isn't really new.
I don't know how it's legal. He'll start the thing and he'll stop right in the middle of his windup, and he'll start again.
Yeah, he's been doing that for a number of years.
I've never seen anything like it.
It's a hitch move.
I know Louis Tiant did a little bit of a hitch.
Yeah.
You have to look at Cueto. You can't believe it.
Yeah, you should look up if you haven't seen it, you should look up the GIF on that or the video on it. It was exaggerated. He's always done one thing Cueto's always done is he's always played with the timing on the pitching. And yeah, it was pretty exaggerated. He was feeling really good in that game because everything was working for him, and he was a little bit insane with that. Yeah, you look at it and go, how is that not a balk? It's only not a balk because it isn't.
That was my first impression, Doug.
Because of where he stops. He stopped with his leg in front of his leg was in front of the mound, so it was part of his delivery to the plate. No one can say you're going too slow. He was certainly moving toward the plate.
Okay, your name is Dugned today? Dugned? You like
Dugned Odor. I figured.
Fine.
He's on. Dugned Odor is a name that was given to me a few years back because I like Dugned Odor, and I'm retiring it today because he's a Yankee.
I have a new moniker. Odor.
So I thought I'd run it one more time. I changed my name to Dugned Odor.
You think he stinks? Yes, he does.
Odor stinks. It's a play on words.
Okay. What about does anybody in this room have Judge or Stanton on their?
No, I would not touch either of them.
I really thought I was going to draft Stanton in some leagues this year, and it just the thing about the Yankee fans is there's always one in there, and they're always going to want them two rounds ahead of you. It's like I thought there was like a chance you might get Stanton like the 7th round, which would have been a good value, but he still went in the 4th.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. We talked about players. Our theory is please don't drop players, especially if you spend a lot on them. Right. If you drafted them in any early rounds, just put them on your bench for crying out loud. Don't drop guys like JD Martinez or Matt Olson. It's unbelievable that Matt Olson, he's got to be the biggest.
I think that these guys are kind of nuts, but I think there's a little different than it was 10 years ago about dropping players on the first draft, because it seems to me that over the last 10 years, everybody I know is drafting in a lot more leagues where they're drafting in like January or February, and a lot can change between there and there. So I think like the first 2 weeks, you're sort of correcting your delayed not mistakes, but things that have changed since you drafted.
Okay, that excuse just doesn't fly in this
15
case.
years ago, I mean, the tradition for fantasy baseball was that you drafted the weekend before the season. That was the tradition, and it seems to be that out of the people I know that are drafting, most of them aren't there. So you wind up having guys on your team that just really don't belong. So you don't drop JD Martinez, but there shouldn't be the stigma about dropping the guys at the back end of your roster because you just made a mistake. You called the wrong closer, or you thought this guy was going to win the second base job. You draft, instead of the other guy. Those things aren't bad.
Okay, I feel like this list can't be right. I just feel like it
can't I
be
thought
right.
of when I looked at it. I go, that's crazy. It's I was looking at the Yahoo.
I can actually look at the one in ESPN. Hold on, because I have. Well, it's only going to give me National League though, because I'm in a National League only, and that's
really?
Right. So it's only going to tell me National League, but I can see the most added and dropped players, and I'm very interested. But before we do that, before I start looking around for that, I'm going to get started on the next question, which is, we're going to have to skip one question, which is, out of the list of the most added players, which would you not put on which do you think was a mistake to put, be drafted, most added, most added? Like, which one do you think is not a good idea? Which one do you think is going to have the most fantasy impact? And it is true that if you get them early enough, it's just like you drafted them. I mean, right now, if you pick up a player off of waiver wire, you might as well have drafted them. You're getting that much playing time out of them. So a couple of these guys, it's going to turn out that they had a big difference and made an impact on who won the league. So if you have any off the top of your head, or we can actually talk about fact or fluke, which is something that we always do at the Arizona Fall League. They always have a list of players that they talk about from the year before about whether or not it's for real, if they're going to be able to do that again, or was it just like fluke? Okay. So like there's a list of players on the rundown that I sent out, but obviously your Mercedes, God, for some reason, I can't get
it's a great name.
Okay, Andy, can I give you some examples of ads in my 15-team league?
I just want you to tell me the ads that you think.
Okay, that's what I'm getting ready to do.
That they spent too much money for.
Right. Okay. Here's Steven Matz. It's $100 FAAB. Steven Matz, $24.
Okay.
Cedric Mullins, $22. Tyler Naquin, $21. I don't agree with that because he doesn't have a real fixed role.
Yes, he does.
No, he doesn't.
Anybody that hits like
Akiyama, that. You got 6 outfielders out there.
Akiyama is going to take the job away from him. Are you kidding me right now? Well, he doesn't have good defense. I'll give you that.
If he goes a week without hitting, he's on the bench. Here's one for you. Travis Shaw, $20.
Yeah, that's what, $25 too
$20
much.
out of a $100 budget for Travis Shaw. He is starting to hit. I will give him that. Kyle Gibson, $15.
He's been horrible.
He is. Christian Pache, $15. This is idiotic.
I can see the Pache one a little bit.
What?
Like rookies have a little bit of a upside feel, so people spend a little more on them. Not that.
What do you think? That's a lot of money for.
I wouldn't spend it, but the thing about it is that the guy that wants them is going to spend money, and 15 is not a huge bid. I mean, one of the things I look at when I look at FAAB is like this. I didn't mention that strategy wise was if you have $100 FAAB, I look at it saying I can pick up 100 guys at $1, or 10 guys at $10, or 25 guys at $4. Or some mixture of the thing. And so it really, it's rare you're going to get a player that's actually going to affect your team for less than about $10.
Okay.
Let me just say one more thing. Now shut up. Let other people.
15 is only a little high in my mind, is what I'm getting at.
Here's your CBS most dropped in CBS. James Paxton, minus 49. Domingo Herman, minus 27. Brad Keller, minus 16. Jose Quintana, minus 13. Michael Waka, minus 11. I won't go any further, but these make sense. They make a lot of sense. Every name I just gave you.
Yeah. What about the most ads then? They're right next door to that.
Most added is Huascar Inoue.
That's a daily play. He started today.
Yeah. Luke Weaver, believe it or not. Jake Junis. Wait a minute. Hold on just a second.
Junis had a nice first start.
Junis?
Yeah, he pitched 7 innings, struck out 6.
But there's nobody left. The thing has to be looked at in the context.
You just have it on pitchers.
It's a 15-team league, and there's nobody left.
What about for hitters? Can you look? Are hitters different?
For hitters?
Naquin had to be at the top. I'm looking at ESPN, but I only see National League. So hold on, Douglas. I see on here your boy Jock Peterson's getting dropped. I don't think that's a smart move to drop him. But like Colton Wong, he's on the IL. Is it smart to drop him? Kyle Schwarber is getting dropped on here. I wouldn't drop Kyle Schwarber yet either. Okay, Devin Williams, I'm not dropping. Who in the world, if you are in a league and you find Devin Williams or Jock Peterson on the waiver, on the free agency, you have to pick them up. I mean, this, I guess, comes with experience because you know what these players are worth overall. When you go out and you pick up Kyle Gibson or Jake Junis, it tells people that you're just looking at what you see right now, and you're not really that familiar with the player overall. But like, I mean, I'm showing on here that one of the most picked up that I think is a huge, depends on how much you had to spend on him, but it might be a huge mistake, which would be India. I guess he'd be good for a trade bait, but you better trade him because he's not going to play like this for much longer. And that's just, what is he, Fernando Tatis? I mean, he's not. So, right? Nobody thinks he is.
But you know what, Andy? Looking at this, the prices that were paid for these free agents causes me to think that maybe that's a reason to spend like a drunk on Saturday night on the first FAAB roll, because you end up with no talent left in the pool. You may be sitting there with $100 FAAB budget and no talent sitting up. It's the same as when you go into an auction and you sit there in the auction. I heard it in Tout Wars or Labor. One of your folks you were in that auction. One of those guys had $154. I forget who it was. Like, and after 10 rounds, he still had $154. Yeah. And you got all this money, and the talent's disappearing.
No, I totally agree with you on that part of it, but I don't look at it the same as waiver wire. It's not the same in the draft as it is, because of the fact that, yes, all the greatest talent is going away, but on the waiver wire, I don't believe that the talent is ever going to run out. I mean, it's just
in
if
15,
they're in a 12,
in 15-team leagues, talent runs out.
That's what I was going to say, is that in the 15-team league, guys like Jake Junis are among the best available actually starting pitchers.
Do you really need a pitcher that bad? I mean, honestly.
Sometimes you do.
If you have injuries.
Get a bullpen guy. You should get a bullpen guy that has the potential of getting wins, like Michael Kopech or another.
The good bullpen guys are also gone. I mean, except for some really, like, there are some.
Telling me that Michael Kopech is drafted.
Kopech is drafted in the league that I'm telling about. There are some decent bullpen guys out there, like you know who's been pretty good in the bullpen is Michael Fulmer. It's a guy that you wouldn't think of, but he's actually been really good in the bullpen.
He's going in the rotation, Doug.
Oh, really? That sucks.
I think so.
Yeah, I think that sucks too.
Tarek Skubal is probably going to be dropped.
Tarek Skubal is. This is so. I mean, nobody really expected that much out of him anyway, but he's way too young to be in the majors. He doesn't even have any. I mean, I don't know. I can't even say that I know what their experience is anymore, because they don't say what they did last year at the alternate training site. You can't find the stats anywhere, so you don't.
They have no metrics. They have no metrics on what they did.
Well, yeah,
they didn't play games.
And
they just played intra-squad games.
They have some metrics on some of them at some sites, but they're not sharing it with the public.
Oh, really?
Okay, so what the hell is that? And like, how are you supposed to keep? It just baffles me.
Well, sometimes you can get little glimpses of it. Someone who knows someone will say something in an interview. That's all I'm saying.
They don't have any minor league going right now at all. So where are they bringing
May 1st.
So right now they're at the secret alternate training site. That's
they're just working out at the alternate site.
They're working out, so they're not like actually.
The Nats have a facility in Fredericksburg.
It's frustrating.
Everybody goes down to Fredericksburg.
Unbelievable. Today they canceled the game because there's going to be riots. And did you hear that?
Oh yeah, I had the game on, ready to watch it.
It's pretty sad that like we've gotten so okay with rioting that we just cancel shit and to allow people to riot. I would take every one of those kids and throw them in jail and throw away the key, and then we wouldn't have any more riots, would we?
You have a right in the United States of America to peaceable.
There is a much different thing between burning your city down and.
I'm in total agreement with you, but Don't even. There's a constitutional right to assembly. That's the problem. What you need to do, the minute they act up, you need to put them in handcuffs and carry them off. I'm with you. But you can't tell them they can't.
No. Don't tell me the line about we have a right to protest.
You have a right to assembly. That's a constitutional right.
I'm not arguing that. Nobody is arguing that, though. That's the thing. Nobody's arguing that. What we're saying is that people that burn their cities down should be thrown in jail and left there.
I'm not arguing that point, but you can't tell them they can't come up.
Nobody's having a peaceful protest today, by the way. This is already looting. These stores are being bashed in. I mean, people, it's absolutely unbelievable how they've allowed this to happen so much that we're okay with it.
Yeah, it's almost as bad as trying to execute the Vice President of the United States, isn't it?
Who?
I said it's almost as bad as the attempt to execute Mike Pence.
Who did that? Nobody
did that. You didn't hear him out there screaming to hang him? You didn't see the gallows?
hold on a minute.
You didn't see the effort to execute Mike Pence? You didn't hear that the president was called on the telephone and he was told that Mike Pence's life was in danger and he blew it off? I guess you didn't hear it. Did you miss that? Did you miss that?
You're making a huge mistake right now. Don't even go there.
Did you miss that? Am I the only one that saw that? You didn't see all the people calling for Mike Pence's execution, and you didn't hear your president of the United States giving an illegal order to Mike Pence to unilaterally overturn the election. Unconstitutional. He gave him an illegal order.
Is it
From
unconstitutional?
the president of the United States, an illegal order.
Hold on a second.
He told Pence to stand on the podium and unilaterally overturn the election. Did he not? Someone told me I'm wrong.
Did you hear him say it?
Say what?
Did you hear him say it, or the media told you that?
That's the problem. Is you got to choose who you're going to believe. But on the bright side, and do all that home
wait a
run
minute.
today.
No, the Democrats question when they go in there and vote on the Electoral College, when they go in there and count the votes. Do you know how many times the Democrats question the election?
Did you watch the live feed the afternoon of the attempted insurrection? Did you watch?
You just told me that they tried to assassinate the vice president.
And Pelosi.
Why don't they have any weapons? Why weren't there any weapons?
There were weapons.
What is this army?
There were people. There were 5 people killed that day.
Nobody died from a weapon besides the girl that got shot by the police.
There were a bunch of weapons there.
Show me.
Okay, I'm not going to.
Show me a weapon.
Okay, never mind. Let's move on to baseball. That's fine. You're right.
You guys can go on.
There was no attempt. There was no attempt at a coup d'état. You're right. There was no attempt. It's all a mirage.
You're out of your mind. Okay,
yep.
You're out of your mind. Just why do you even want to bring up politics right now?
You brought it up, not me.
I talked about fucking people.
You brought up the protests. That's politics. I didn't bring it up.
There's no protest. There's no protest. There's riots going on right now. Riots. Fine. Not only riots, but looting. People's businesses are being destroyed right now.
I don't like that. I told you I agree.
But you're okay with it, ignoring it, right? You want to?
No, I'm not saying
President Trump. He's not even in office anymore. Now we have
Andrea. I said the Constitution guarantees the right of peaceable assembly.
I did not say it
if you get a permit. You have to get a permit. That's how you had 15,000 people out on the Capitol grounds on January 6th. They had a permit.
I'm not talking about January. You know what? I hope that you're better off now. I really hope you are. And we're going to see if you're better off when this is all said and done. Because the bottom line is, it is not illegal and it is not unconstitutional to question the fraud that happened. But do you realize that they are not showing you stuff? They are hiding everything.
Well, I agree with that too.
You're not even allowed to say anything about any kind of potential fraud without getting banned off of social media. Do you think that's okay? Because when they're doing it from one side, they will do it to you.
I'm not disagreeing with you on
anything. But you're okay with it because it's not your side.
I'm not okay with attempts to assassinate the vice president.
Nobody's talking about assassinating anybody, okay?
You're choosing your topic. You're choosing your topics. You brought it up. I didn't.
I brought up the fact that Minnesota Twins canceled their game today because people are burning down the cities.
And I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it.
Why did you bring up shit? Why are you bringing up all this?
You brought it up, not me. You brought up the game being canceled because of protests, and I agree with you.
I did not say protests. I did not say protests, ever.
You said looting or whatever. Have you seen any reports of looting today or fires?
Yes, I sure have all day. Turn the fucking news on. You'll see the city being burned to the ground right now. People are looting all over the place. They're stealing liquor out of the stores, bashing all the windows, stealing things.
I don't like that.
Everybody's looting. They think it's real fun, and they know they can get away with it because it happened all summer long.
Yeah.
And they don't care about who's in presidency either. Obviously, they don't care. They will continue to do it until somebody stops them. Well, I'll tell you what. They better not come around my house, because I'll fucking stop them. And American people are not going to put up with it that much longer. I'll tell you that much. Anyways, I don't want to fight with you. I honestly, I don't think we should be talking about politics. We should respect the fact that we don't see the things the same. But the way that you throw at me like that, I don't know. Whatever. Let's just move on. I hope that you don't hold a grudge, and I won't hold a grudge. So
I'm not holding any grudges. They're just having a discussion. That's all.
that's not a discussion.
I mean, this is part of what's gone awry in America. Is that we seem to, and I probably contributed to this. I admit that. I confess. But we seem to be incapable of having adult discussions with each other with opposing viewpoints. It's not like it used to be when Ronald Reagan used to go over to the bar in D.C. and drink beer with Tip O'Neill, a liberal Democrat. Those days, unfortunately, have gone away. Everybody hates everybody, and it's sad. It is very sad, is what it is.
Yep.
And it's a bad thing for America. Charles Barkley said this. He's lucky he won't be fired.
If you
Charles
believe that,
Barkley, during the NCAA halftime show, can I just say this, and I'll promise I won't
right.
Charles Barkley came on and said both political parties promote racial division.
But
both. That's what Barkley said, and he was right. I'll shut up.
They know that if they get us to hate each other, then they don't have to worry about them losing their power and their money. And that's exactly right.
You do realize they all still have lunch together, and when they're having lunch, they're just laughing at us. So,
and while they spend their money,
like professional wrestlers.
Without the mask on.
Now Paul's right. They're like professional wrestlers.
Okay, so fact or fluke. We talked about Naquin. Let's talk about Asdrubal Cabrera. Okay, I don't know if we should say fact or fluke with him, but he's one of the. There's 4 players that have 75 home runs in both the American League and the National League, and it was Albert Pujols, Miggy Cabrera, Justin Upton, and Asdrubal Cabrera. If you could believe that, as 2 Cabreras in this trivia.
I think Asdrubal Cabrera is who we know he is. I mean, he is He's a really good fill-in who'll have stretches of being a hitter, but if he was to play 162 games, he'd hit 255 with 17, 20 homers, 3-4 steals. If he was a full-time guy, he's having a great week, and he'll have a couple more great weeks this season. He'll have some lousy weeks, but he's not somebody that you're picking up to cover for any. Is he's third base eligible?
I don't know. I don't know if
first base. I think he's first base eligible.
At first base, he's got a little bit of a chance because there's a lot of real gambles at first on the deep side. Some are paying off like Jared Walsh, some aren't like Bobby Dahlbeck. Some are like the Nate Lowe. Some aren't like Ron Mountcastle. So maybe you pick him up to cover for Dahlbeck for 3 weeks until you can make a distinct decision whether to cut him or he picks up the place a little.
Third base. He only plays third base. I used to like him a lot because he qualified at a lot of bases. Going into 2019, he qualified at second, third, and shortstop. And then coming into last season, he qualified at second and third, and now he only qualifies at
third.
Hold on a second. He did play 25 games at first and 17 at third. So he should have both positions eligible. Now he's only playing at third. So next year, you're shit out of luck for the position eligibility. Okay. But what do you think? Maybe I feel like he's worth an ad if you need him to fill in because he's already hit 2 home runs. And yes, like Douglas said, probably not the long term. But what do you think, Malpal?
Well, in a 15-team mix, I think he can't hurt you, and he's likely to help you some.
Yeah, so, true. Very true.
I mean, that's what he is. Like what
he's only
I agree
240.
Yeah, but he's going to pop 15 homers if he gets 500 at bats. Playing in a good park for him.
Arizona.
And that team is kind of fluid, right? I mean, right now with
what position is Escobar playing? Because he's got Escobar's hitting 216, but he's got 4 homers.
Yes, right. So Mitchell, what do you think of Asdrubal Cabrera?
The Nats should have kept him. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could use him.
Okay. No, the Nats are hurting. They should have kept him.
What about
he was dirt cheap. They could have put Castro at second, put Asdrubal Cabrera at third. They made a mistake.
Cedric Mullins is one of the most added players this week for sure. He bats leadoff in Baltimore. So, Douglas, what are your feelings? I think we talked about him.
I've never been a big fan of the guy because he's really been disappointing up until this little run now. But to be honest, I did pick him up in a league because it just made the most sense for a short-term thing. Right now, he's hitting.
He has
he has real speed, and by being the leadoff hitter, he's going to generate some runs, and so that was the guy among the outfielders that I felt could help me the most for the next 2 weeks. He's not the answer to everything, but I had Teoscar Hernandez and Lourdes Gurriel go on the COVID list, right?
He has the most hits in baseball. He's actually tied with JD Martinez. Can you believe that? He's tied with JD Martinez for the most hits in baseball.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy.
I mentioned this about Mullins, I think a month ago. This guy is a streak hitter, so he's on a hot streak. The only thing that's maybe changed about Mullins is maybe someone some hope is he's no longer switch hitting. He's hitting exclusively left-handed. So if you really want to look at the glass half full or look at a rainbow, at the end of the pot at the end of the rainbow, maybe that trigger starts his career where he's more consistent.
That would be a good trivia question for you two on your Sunday morning show. What former switch hitters have given it up and then became better hitters after giving up switch hitting?
That's a good one. I like ones that you can't look up that easy, but Lenny just picks them out.
That one will be hard to look up.
Yeah, I'm thinking there were a few, but now none of them come to mind.
Okay, let's talk about the fact that you're looking at the most strikeouts so far this young season, and you see the normal, typical guys up there like Shane Bieber and Jacob deGrom and Garrett Cole and all these. But on the list, just not too far down, is Jose De Leon. Now, okay, there was a lot of speculation on him. There was quite a few experts that really liked him, like on the Athletic podcast, one of them really liked Jose De Leon, and I can't remember who it was, but he's got 18 strikeouts and 9 and a third.
And what's his ERA? 7.71.
I didn't look at his ERA. I'm just looking at the strikeout.
It's a real trade-off thing. Yeah, he's a strikeout guy, but 7.71 ERA is kind of hinky, a little scary.
Is the ERA really indicative of how good your talents are?
Oh no, I think he's better than a 7.71 ERA. But if you can't keep it 4.50 or below, or you're gonna have trouble keeping the job.
Okay. What do you think of Jose De Leon? I don't even know if he's got 2 starts now. I didn't even look at his
You caught me flat-footed. I mean, I didn't think he was in the rotation. I guess it's because
I didn't either.
Sonny Gray was out, Andrea.
I didn't even know either, so don't feel bad. That was just that. I was just okay. Let's talk about something else then. The most saves you have. No, let's talk about the most home runs allowed already. We have pitchers that have allowed 5 home runs, 4 home runs, and I don't know what the hell. Marco Gonzalez is at the top of the list, and so Jose De Leon is the next guy down. So while he's striking out a lot of guys, he's obviously giving up home runs. He's given up 4 home runs so far. Marco Gonzalez, though, Mr. Seattle, giving up 5 home runs in just 2 starts in 10 innings.
Yeah, and I remember Malpal's admonition to stay clear of Chris Bassett. I don't forget everything you say, Malpal.
Well,
and I don't like Marco Gonzalez either. And
I thought Marco Gonzalez was a guy that was, for years, he was underappreciated, and this year he was overappreciated.
Well, maybe, but he pitched.
The problem is when you're a guy that strikes out a lot of people, if you're off by a little bit, it can be a lot of damage, and that's what he's going through right now. He's a better pitcher than what we see in the first 2 weeks, but he isn't a great pitcher by any stretch.
We were admonished by many of the pundits in February and March to more or less ignore 2020 statistics, and every day I believe there was more truth in that.
Who was saying that?
Ray Flowers said that. Jim Bowden said that.
I was just curious.
A bunch of people said that.
Well,
I don't agree with that across the board.
Yeah, I didn't hear it on our station, and the truth is, I don't listen to much else because I don't have the time to.
Well, I know Mitchell does listen to Sirius, so Do you think it's really smart though to not look at the last year's statistics at all? I mean, you have to
No,
look
I
at
think I'm not saying to ignore it, but don't. I guess probably I stated it wrong. They said it could be misleading because a lot of hitters came in there unprepared. JD Martinez admits he came in unprepared. Eduardo Escobar came in grossly overweight. A lot of the players were not ready to play last year, and it's not all their fault. They
well,
got
that goes to show what type of what they're doing outside of work. That goes to show how well they keep care of their body, or that goes to show, you know, if they're not prepared to play baseball, then there's something not. That means they weren't really.
I understand. Zach Davies was the same. He was another example that was cited. Don't be careful of Zach Davies. And I drank the Kool-Aid and got Zach Davies, who had a good year last year. He did.
Where did you? How much did you pay for him, or where did you draft him, like round wise?
I got him way late. I think I paid $5 for him in a 15.
Yeah. And he's gonna be $5 worth.
Yeah.
He hasn't been as good as you wanted, but he is pitching like a $5 pitcher.
My 2 cents on that 2020 real quick is I kind of discounted this bad years from the established players, but I did not dismiss good years from non-established players. You have to really peel the onion back and look at why did some of these guys turn their careers around, or why did they have a good season? Like JD Martinez, I just dismissed that as a bad year. You know, but a guy like Kevin Gausman was interesting. I was intrigued by Kevin Gausman as Andy knows all spring training. Like, what is this guy? Because he's been awful for years, and he had a great year last year. And when you dig down, and when she had Lou as a guest on Tuesday, it kind of started making sense that this guy is. Maybe he found something last year. So I think I just missed this across the board. You got to ignore 2020. Anyways, got that off my chest.
Yes, so that is true. That's true. So like if a guy that had a horrible season, but he's had so many good seasons, I could write off 2020, no problem. But when you like the smaller the sample size, the more important 2020 is in projections. You know,
the hard part is really knowing which guys you can write off 2020 on and how much you write it off and that sort of thing. There's a lot of this year. The prediction guys like us are gonna. It's gonna be a lot of the gut instinct to go from this guy and not that one. And
we're gonna be wrong a lot.
It's always
we're gonna be wrong.
We're always wrong a lot. I mean,
that's why you have to trust your own instinct and don't believe the freaking people that think they're experts. That's for sure. Okay. Yeah. Top 20. The top 20 hitters in baseball right now includes 8 catchers.
It's top 120. I wrote that because secondly, Rachel Realmuto is like 103 and somebody else is like 112. But the top like 20 catchers, the top 20 hitters have like 4 catchers in it. I've seen people. Well, here, let me pull it up.
Pull that up. Now, also, Douglas was so nice to point out that 42 different pitchers have at least one save so far this year. So welcome to...
Isn't that crazy?
The circus of closers. Does that mean that you should not spend a lot of money getting a closer because there's so many closers that are going to get like some saves? Or does that mean that you should spend more on getting one that gets 30 saves?
An interesting thing, like in that TGF league where there's like 30 leagues, there's something like 30% of teams have yet to get a save because the saves are like just going to all these weird guys. You know what I mean? And there's like Greg Holland hasn't had a save, and like people have picked up like just.
Why hasn't he have a save though? Is he not the closer? Have they not won any games yet? Or
the one save went to Jesse Hahn, one save went to Wade Davis.
Well, that tells me that Greg Holland is not the first choice for.
And Kyle Zimmer got a save yesterday.
Yeah, that's like there and there's a couple of teams like this where the guy we thought was the closer isn't getting a save, and teams are choosing
like Karen Check and
to give other people saves.
A lot of people spend a lot of money on Karen Check.
I know, and
very Karen Check has yet to get a save. He's another one.
Yeah, okay. He's got Emmanuel Clase is a closer.
He got 2, and Whitman has gotten 1.
There's
right,
the fact that Go ahead,
Go ahead.
Malpa. No,
I was
please.
just going to say, really, to save the world of saves, I think two things. If you drafted in February or early March, you're going to make mistakes on this stuff because you have no information. But if you're paying attention and you had late drafts, you should have known that Karinchak was not the closer if you paid attention to
I don't know, man.
what was saying. They came out and they said they're going to use a three-headed monster in
They did.
Cleveland.
Late,
And
though.
that's just one
draft.
example. But that's after a lot of the drafts. That's what I'm saying, to be fair.
Yeah.
That's
So,
why you want to do your draft as close to the start of the season as you possibly can.
Unless you're me,
Right.
Malpal, and Douglas, who didn't stop drafting until after opening day, right? That's the
Actually,
I'm having withdrawals. I've been drafting since January, but now it's all gone.
I'm in one league that actually starts their draft on opening day and finishes it it starts week 2. It was nice to have that. So I was still drafting up until the very end.
Really?
It's my 15th.
That would be good. We should. We should definitely do a halftime league. Like we'll start a league at halfway mark.
Do you want me to read off those catchers?
Yeah.
It's like right now, Christian Vasquez is number 13. He's got 2 homers and 2 stolen
and
bases.
He's stealing bases. Yeah, I was going to just throw that.
Yadier Molina is number 48. He's 11 for 30 with a home run, 7 runs, 7 RBIs, hitting 367. Wilson Ramos is number 52. He's 6 for 22 with 4 home runs, a 273 average. Tucker Barnard is number 64. He's hitting 409 with 1 home run and 7 RBIs. Omar Narvaez is he's number 66, 10 for 22 with 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, hitting 455. Will Smith is number 79. He's 6 for 20 with 2 home runs and a 300 batting average. And Roberto Perez and JT Realmuto are 123 and 124 now. I guess it's been adjusted a little bit. And they're hitting, Perez is hitting 2 home runs, 267. Realmuto is 1 home run, 1 steal, 333. But there's a lot of catchers. And I saw in a couple leagues where people dropped, I mean, not the greatest catchers in the world, but people dropped people they drafted. I saw somebody dropped Carson Kelly for Omar Narvaez. I saw somebody drafted, what was the weird one? Oh, Gary Sanchez. I know there's a split. Gary Sanchez for Wilson Ramos.
Did you say Austin Barnes and Will Smith are both on the list?
No. It was.
Okay, that's all. I don't need to say. I just thought they were both on there.
Austin Barnes actually is having a decent fill-in. Like he's hitting for average, but he's not. He doesn't have enough of the other stuff.
Right. He will get some time. I mean, he will take at bats away from Will Smith because he's so good defensively. But, anyways, what do you think of Jared Walsh? Jared Walsh is on fire.
I like him. I like him a lot.
I like him
I bid
too.
$21 for him and lost him. The guy got bid 22, and I didn't have enough money.
Are you kidding? You got bid
in auction.
In an auction, I got outbid. The same guy that had Goldsmith. He paid the same price for Walsh in the auction as he did for Goldsmith. Smith.
Yep.
Goldsmith he went for 22. Walsh went for 22.
I wish he played more outfield, and I would be very pleased about that because I know last year he did play some outfield, just not enough.
Well, with Fowler gone for the season, don't you think they're not going to let Lagares play out there? Man,
if the only Angels had some prospects that could play outfield,
like Joe Adele
or Brandon Marsh or Taylor Ward or any of these guys.
They have to leave him down for a couple weeks. They have to leave him down.
Joe Madden's not going to play rookies. He's not going to play these guys.
Period.
Yeah, well, you know what that means? It means that the Angels' next call-up will be John Jay.
Interesting, you guys.
Something like that, yeah.
No, he's in their minors. He's and he's the guy. And he has a history with.
Yeah,
he has a history with
for David Bodie or something.
John Jay is one of those guys. So, but it'd be nice to see one of them come in. But Walsh is playing first base because they're finally not starting Pujols at first, and that's what's gonna. If Pujols could come in a couple games and hit, that would push Walsh to the outfield.
Well, they might do. I mean, both Miggy and Pujols are working really hard towards a couple of really big milestones, this year.
And as bad as we might think Pulse is at this late part in his career, he's a better hitter than Lagares.
Ooh, I just love Byron Buxton right now. I just love this guy. Okay, Byron Buxton. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say regarding Walsh, doesn't it seem a natural start Walsh in right field, play him 5 innings, play Pujols at first. In the 6th inning, bring in Lagares, move Walsh to first base, and Pujols goes to the bench. Seems like a perfect setup. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, that sounds good.
That's not a bad idea.
Don't hold your breath, Mel, pal.
Ramon Laureano, dude, is stealing bases like crazy. I really didn't think
when I told you yesterday about the A's, about Jed Lowry batting 4th, he's not batting 4th, he's batting 3rd for them. The 3 guys on that team that can hit are Canha, Laureano, and Lowry. Everyone else has been kind of struggling.
Okay, what about Matt Olson? You don't like him?
He's just not been hitting this year. So
Okay.
He didn't hit last year either.
That's true.
I just didn't think that Laureano was this. I mean, 5 steals in 7 games is what he has. He's played in 7 games. He has 5 steals. He's on pace for 100 steals, I guess.
His when he was in the minors with the Astros, he was projected to be one of those guys that could be 30-30. It was stealing like 27 bases, hitting 23 home runs.
Yeah, I just thought he was more of a power guy. I don't know why I thought that. I don't know.
Okay.
I know he has a great arm in the outfield, and I learned that from Stratomatic because he was a good defensive guy.
Yep.
Stratomatic gets you really smart in baseball. It really.
I on my show yesterday, I talked about how Stratomatic makes me not like Yimi Garcia as the closer in Marlins, because if you look at the Stratomatic card,
Anthony Bass, you too, right? You don't.
Well, Bass was better in Stratomatic, but Yimi Garcia was he was like a 20% allowed a hit on his card. But on the righty, it was all home runs. On the lefty, it was half home runs. And so that tells you what Yimi Garcia is sort of like. It's like he's going to get a lot of people out, but when he gets hit hard. And then I pointed out how he had gone 5 years without a save because he had blown 11 saves until last year.
So Lenny's friends with he used to make the boxes that Stratomatic came in when they mailed it to your house. He was talking to the owner of Stratomatic. The owner said that they had the busiest year they've ever had
last year.
Yeah.
It was a good year for it. I mean, my home league is actually a bunch of guys that used to play Stratomatic together when we were like 17 years old. You know, that's the baseline of it. And
what else, Mitchell? What else do you want to talk about? Because we're rolling down the clock. The wife is telling you.
This is probably only peripherally related, but it's bugging the hell out of me, Andrea.
What?
The fact that the teams are not sending the broadcast crew on the road with the team. They're sitting in a studio somewhere, calling the game, watching it on the same screen, and you can't see things.
I didn't know that.
I don't know if it's because of COVID. You're trying to keep down the traveling party, but it's affecting the quality. Am I the only one who's picking up on this?
I didn't know it was happening.
I watched all his games last year, and I didn't really care that they weren't there.
They couldn't really be there, but now,
as a fan of college football, especially like when my school was in Division I, that was actually a commonplace thing. They would pick up Youngstown State's feed, and they would call it from the thing, and it just didn't seem weird to me. I don't know how. I don't know what actually makes you mad about this.
Because your field division, Douglas. There's no television. Feed. Please let me finish. No television feed can match your field of vision, your peripheral vision, and the things that you can get. This is a human factors engineering issue. And I must be a sick puppy.
I understand that.
Most people don't seem to be noticing this. I've heard on 4 occasions complaints, very subtle, but complaints from broadcast crews. We can't see what's going on. 4 times already I've heard that. And
that's what I was going to ask.
Watch it on television and see the same view.
What were they not seeing that they were looking to see? Is what
foul balls. Sometimes relief pitchers warming up. things happening all over the stadium. There's all kinds of things they can't see.
Yeah,
They're limited to the camera shot, and they're sitting at home. Any one of the four of us could do the same thing. We could start at 10 o'clock. When we go off the air, we could sit here and call a West Coast game sitting right here. Just put the thing on your TV and talk. Any one of us could do it.
I know a service that allows you to do it for free.
Yeah, right.
If you just want to do it. But no, the thing about it to me is
I guess I don't have enough to do that I can notice this.
I mean, couldn't the guy
just take my word, watch real close and see the difference.
I'm just sitting there thinking, like, you know, the stadium still has 5 cameras or 7 cameras or whatever they have. They couldn't like radio down to somebody and say, "Hey, can you try to get a shot of the bullpen?"
The Nationals, the game is in St. Louis. The Nationals announcers are at Masson in Maryland or Virginia, wherever.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, wouldn't they? Don't they have a way of communicating to ask for
by the time you tell them the thing is over with?
I'm just trying to get around it. Yeah, I guess it's that 99% of the time, the announcers do nothing for me, so I don't feel like I'm losing anything because I can't remember the last time an announcer did something that I thought, wow, that's notable.
Right.
I mean, the thing that's notable to me is like I'll watch a good number of Marlins games, and those guys are amazingly talkative about things that aren't during the game, and that stuff's interesting, but it's not helping out in the game. You know, it's like that's what I grew up on. I grew up on Jack Brickhouse in Chicago, and Jack Brickhouse had to make the game fun because the team on the field stunk, right? And so it was talking about other things and, you know, life and whatever, and I kind of like that.
I think I agree with that, and I agree with Mitch. There's a certain thing about being at the game, not focusing just on the play-by-play, but chatting, looking at things in the stands for entertainment purposes. For your average fan, they're not like us where they sit there and they watch and worried about a 3-1. What's the pitch going to be on 3-1 and get all excited because Jose Ramirez is a fastball hitter. Most people don't do that. They listen. It's an entertainment package, and part of that, to me, and I understand if people don't feel this way, but I agree with Mitch. There's certain ambiance about, you know, being at the game, picking up on little things that you don't see on the video feed. So I agree with Mitch on that one.
Me too, Mitchell. I agree with you.
You know, I don't have enough to do. I must not have a life.
Well, then I guess we don't too. But
can I throw one thing out? There was that question I asked you that somebody asked me that I couldn't give him a good answer for, and I thought maybe getting a couple people's opinions on it. The guy was just saying, like, if I'm looking for a player, is it better for me to look at rankings or projections? You know, and I'm just wondering what you guys do when you're looking to make a pickup on a player. Do you look at rankings or projections? I tried to give him a subtle answer that, you know, I do this for this stuff and this for that, and
rankings are bad. Usually rankings are bad because rankings don't take into consideration the statistical categories that you're going for. So if your team needed steals, then you would try to find the guy that's going to steal the most bases.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean,
that's right.
The projections are more helpful, in my opinion. The rankings, the only thing they're good for is to either create tiers out of them.
Yeah, that's what I told them. The thing about rankings to me is that it kind of tells you the pecking order in which they'll be drafted.
Exactly.
So you know, I can wait till the 9th for this guy, and this guy has to go in the 3rd.
But Mal Powell said it right. You go out there and you look, what is my need? He needed steals. He knew he needed steals. So he looked for somebody available with speed. This isn't right. I mean,
and then
the rankings don't mean it. Where was Tim LaCastro in the preseason ADP? 240?
I think
he's not very good in the preseason projections either because he was going to be projected for limited time.
But that's just my point. Looking at the ADP of the rankings could cause you to look past somebody. He's a one-trick pony. I agree with that. I used to get Jared Dyson back in the day. But if speed is what you need, you get a one-trick pony.
The rankings that people are looking at, I think that the definition is a problem here too, because a lot of times these rankings are really actually just for ADP purposes. They're not really, if you're not going to put projections with the rankings, then what's the point? I guess it would only be to do ADP. Like you're going to say, like, who's the better player, Manny Machado or Tim LeCastro? Like obviously,
Yeah, well, that one's easy.
Are we talking about pre-draft or FAAB?
Well,
It could be either one.
The question that came to me, he was talking about picking somebody up on waivers, but you can answer it either way. That's what I kind of told him. I told him that I like rankings more for the draft because I'm worried more about where I need to pick somebody. I may love Ty France, and I want to know, like, I gotta draft him by the 16th round, or I'm not going to get him. That kind of thing.
I mean, you kind of have to look at when you're picking up players. You just have to know what your team is needing and how, like, which categories can you move up in, which category can you gain a point on the next guy up. Like, it's hard to tell at this point because.
Do you really go through all that when you're picking a player on waivers, or you're just kind of?
Of course, especially the later that it gets in the season, the more important that
later
is.
in the season, I do more of that, but right now I'm just looking for good players. I think there's still decent players out there
and stuff right now. But if you have somebody on the injured list, really you're just trying to replace a guy.
Well, you said you had Tim Anderson. Who'd you replace Tim Anderson with?
I luckily for me, I have some players that are qualified at multiple positions, and I can't remember who.
No, that's what I said.
Big Biggio, I might have put there.
One of my tips this year was, if you're playing in a middle infielder league, is you should draft two shortstops and draft your second baseman late. This was the one league I didn't do that in, because like in the other league where I had Tatis, I had Bogarts just go right in, and it was fine,
I'm telling you, I thought shortstop was really deep, but I'm finding out it's not that deep. It is not that deep, and especially when I did some only drafts, I was like, "Holy shit, dude! Shortstop is not what I thought it was."
The onlys take half of them away, but
my brother just told me that Akil Baddoo
homered again.
What's wrong with AJ Hinch? And what planet do you play Jones and they leave Baddoo on the bench every other game? I don't get it. They're
going to figure it out eventually.
How long does it take until the middle of August?
Probably, I would say that probably if by May 1st, Akil Baddoo isn't starting 5 days a week, getting 1 day off, someone will assassinate Hinch.
I love Baddoo. Okay, I think it's great that he's doing this.
He's a good guy. He's
good story.
Every time he comes out there, he does something. Every time.
Yesterday he had no hits.
Right, that's true.
It did happen once. We should mark that.
Okay, he had one game without hits.
I'm just saying, like, that's notable.
But maybe I'm a little over enthusiastic, but the kid looks to me like a left-handed Arozarena. He reminds me, he hits to the opposite field. I cannot tell you how impressed I am with a hitter who can drive the ball out of the park in the opposite field. That's one thing that's so great about.
Well, what did he do though? He was a Rule 5,
What's that?
What did he do? Did he make like changes that can explain why he's all of a sudden a good hitter?
Sometimes despite the best scouting, we make mistakes.
This is the
sometimes we just make mistakes. How about St. Louis trading Arozarena? He was a throw-in to Tampa. That trade that they made with Tampa, he was a throw-in.
Here's the explanation, the best that I can get it from why Akil Baddoo has improved so much, is that he missed a lot of baseball in 2019. He missed baseball because he had Tommy John surgery, right?
Yeah.
And so, Baddoo did. And the recovery path from Tommy John surgery is a much more intense preparation than normal baseball. And so that might have some play into it. That's the only thing that I can see that's there. Because we don't think much about batters having Tommy John, but he's recovered from Tommy John, which is part of the reason why the Twins didn't cover him. They thought, who's going to take this guy who's never played above A, who's recovering from Tommy John?
Right.
But he was a guy that when he was drafted in the early things, like when they talk about like the early stocking of minor leagues, he was considered a guy that is a 5-tool athlete. He just needs to learn, and he has a really good eye. He just needs to learn to hit the ball for contact. That's the tool that he needed the most work on. And sometimes those guys never develop. Sometimes like Byron Buxton takes 5 years to kind of put that last one in place.
Well, he's had mostly injury issues. I've never questioned his talent, but he just seems to be injured all the time. That was the only complaint I ever had with Buxton.
Well, there's a difference between questioning his talent and questioning his production. His production has been bad until a part of last year.
Okay.
I had one guy that I wanted to throw out real quick.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions before the season. The Padre, of course. There's a lot of question about Cronenworth and his playing time. You know, they have
Yeah.
Kim and all this. You know,
I got that
Circus
question too.
and
I didn't bring it
guys.
up.
You know, Cronenworth leads the Padres in plate appearances. He's leading the team in slugging percentage, and he's leading the team in on-base percentage. He's going to play every day, and he's going to lead off, it looks like, too. So this guy, I'm going to say, if anyone was worried about him losing time, I don't see it. Now's the time to invest in this guy. He is a good hitter. He's not going to hit you 30 homers, but he doesn't strike out. He's got 2 strikeouts and 40 at-bats, and he's 415 OBP, which is consistent with what he did last year. It was like a 360. So this guy's a good player. He's going to play. That's all.
I agree. That's a good one.
Is your feeling, Malpal, that Kim is just playing during the Tatis injury? He's going to go back to the.
He's going to be a utility guy. Yeah. This is a caveat, you know, assuming Cronenworth produces, right? But there's no indication he won't. But Kim will be the utility guy. And he could play second because Cronenworth is also their backup first baseman. So, and he can play third. He can play anywhere in the infield. So.
Mitchell, what do you think? Well, honestly, I saw him on a lot of the lists today when I was looking up the top hitting players. He's been hitting very well. So.
Yeah, I had him and didn't protect him. I regret it.
What you could have kept him for how much?
I think I had him at $10 and didn't protect him.
I think you could have got him in the draft for $10, probably, maybe. I don't know. I have to probably wait.
The thing I was worried about his playing time because there was all this babble about 3 second basemen being there. And then when they re-signed Profar, that put me pretty much out of the Cronenworth because I was surprised when they re-signed Profar. Oh, I think it was a smart move. You know, when you talk position versatility, Profar is solid gold.
Yeah, he'll be their 4th outfielder and their backup second baseman.
Where can't he play? I think the only thing he can't do is catch.
Profar, yeah.
Yeah.
He'll play second on all the outfield positions.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys. Well, thanks for coming around. I
hit
hope
90 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you guys.
Good session.
Okay, I'm going to cut out part of the middle.
Okay, my bad. I apologize.
Don't worry, I apologize too. I don't want to fight with you, Mitchell. I love baseball. We all love
It wasn't
baseball.
a fight. We're just having a discussion. That's all.
It's hard right now, but okay. So I'm glad that we're not going to be mad at each other. And
I'm not mad at him.
I just took the opportunity to go to the bathroom because I had to go.
Goodbye.
Good decision. Bye.